Hey there, everyone. Thanks so much for joining me today. So this is just a quick little preview here. Dawn is working through a couple of technical issues, but hopefully she'll be back with me here in just a minute, and we can get the show started. I do want to kind of give you an introduction into her, though. She has a fantastic background and is really a person to look at and think about when it comes to creating your own brand and building your interest into an industry. She has done that by focusing in on what she likes to do and then focusing again on those pieces that are important. So I am here and so glad to have you be part of the show. I'm Shane Snipes, as some of you guys know. I work at the Borough of Manhattan Community College, direct the small business and entrepreneurship degree program here. It's a 2-year program that's focused is really to teach people how to become an entrepreneur in the time frame that they are in the program, and that's part of it. And then, look, she's here. Dawn has made it back into the session with me. I'm so excited. I'll give her another introduction here in just a moment. It is so good to see her again. She and I worked together a little bit at F.I.T, one of the conferences that they were having there. I've learned so much from her. She's one of those inspiring people who's found something that she's really passionate about and has decided to dive in and like make it her livelihood. And nothing makes business more exciting and more energizing than when you find something like that. So Dawn-Karen, I wanted to thank you so much for being here with me here today. It's fantastic to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Dawn, I wanted to dive in right away with a question out of the gate.
Yes.
We're so excited to see you. Quite a few of my students are really interested in fashion. And the first question they had was, what the heck is fashion psychology? And don't we automatically have this built in? What is this thing?
Fashion psychology, all right, in layman's terms, it's essentially styling from the inside out. The academic definition of it, or the formal definition, is the study and treatment of how color, image, style, beauty, and shape affects human behavior while addressing cultural norms and cultural sensitivities. But that's a mouthful. So in layman's terms, styling from the inside out, that's what fashion psychology is all about.
I love it. Styling from the inside out. So
yes.
you can tell a lot from people, right, by what they wear.
Yes.
It gives you insight into how much what their psychology is, what they're thinking about their day, like all these other pieces. Tell me for you, and I want to get another question in from one of my students. She specifically said, what do I do to change someone's style psychology?
Wow. Well, the first thing you want to do is do a self check-in. And most of the time we're on autopilot. So we're not really cognizant of how we're feeling. We play all of these roles, maybe as a mother, a daughter, a son, and aware of how we're feeling. We're not in tune. So the first thing I would say would be, just before you get out of the bed, just ask yourself, like, how am I feeling today? And then when you go to your closet, you're going to dress according to that mood. And that's where it begins.
Is that a good thing, though? I mean, should we be dressing according to our mood always, or what do we do to counteract that?
Not always. Not always. So there's one theory, mood illustration dress, which is dressing for your current mood. So if I'm in a slump, I'm going to wear some leggings and a big frumpy dumpy black sweater, right? But mood enhancement dress is antithetical to that. So mood enhancement dress is, okay, I have a presentation today. I can't look like a slob. So I need to be more poised, put together. So I'm literally going to dress to uplift my mood. And in turn, again, that's that styling from the inside out. So instead of looking at the external and going to your closet and getting inundated and feeling overwhelmed, oh my God, I have nothing to wear, you actually start with the inside.
Yeah. That's fascinating. So I want to check in here. So what does this say, psychologically, looking at what I'm wearing right now, what does this say psychologically about me?
Well, you're putting me on the spot.
No, I'm kidding. I'm not. I don't want you to do that. I don't.
Oh, okay.
Honestly, I don't really want to know. I think it's scary. It's scary. It's scaring me a lot here.
I could tell you. No, just kidding.
Let's take a step back and really talk about some of the ways that you've taken a passion of yours and delivered for yourself a way of being, a type of work, and even reinventing and reinvigorating what was really just basically beginning to be talked about at the turn of the century, right? So you took that thing and really turned it into something that you could feel passionate about. When you first had the idea, and I'd like to dig into that moment, it may not have been like one day, or it may have been over the course of a week or a month. What was that feeling like, and how did you take that feeling and really run with it to a point where you felt like you were getting traction and you knew there was a point to this?
Well, again, this the turn of the 19th century, this idea started to be illuminated. And of course, 21st century, I had to take it and run with it. I noticed that there were, unlike Sigmund Freud, when, the father of psychology, Sigmund Freud came in with these Oedipus complex, you may have incestual feelings about your father, these things. And then other psychologists kind of debunked that myth. So there was a gap. And the notion of why we were what we were, but no one sort of debunked that or kind of just, pushed that along. And so here I came. So I think just going to Columbia and being a part of people who are, revolutionizing things, like they're not afraid. I mean, I was at Columbia when Mark Zuckerberg was, Facebook was the thing, right? Then Instagram, and when former President Barack Obama was in office, and, they went to Ivy Leagues, and I was taught by, the pioneer of spiritual psychology, the pioneer of positive psychology, and the pioneer of multicultural psychology. So I didn't have it in my mind that I could not do this. I was literally surrounding myself with people who was doing something similar, and they let me know that I have the permission to do it, so to speak. Does that make any sense?
It does. It totally makes sense. I want to follow up with that question with just a couple more that are a little bit more specific. When you were first getting started in that sort of academic exploration, there are plenty of people who are great thinkers who look at the world and sort of break it down into its parts and maybe even write books about it, but they never think about branching out and becoming sort of another thing, like the institute that you have and the way that you've approached building a business for yourself. How did you put those pieces together?
Right. So as a millennial, so like you said, most academics, they just stay in the world of academia. But as a millennial, I'm like, okay, maybe, my mind was already thinking about technology, and I need to branch this beyond academia. This needs to be in the media. So somehow. And so I was like, okay, do I want to put it more in social media or the actual media? And I felt, this is academia, so social media wouldn't really do it justice. For me to get validity from, generation, the baby boomer generation, and I can't think of the rest of the generations before me, but for me to get that clout and that validity, I had to appear to the media. So I actually began to, outsource. Okay, let's go to Vogue, let's go to Elle magazine, Stylecaster, and let's create that buzz. And I generated that buzz through my consultancy. And it just took off. I mean, I'm now in the media in about 27 countries. I'm coming out in Cosmopolitan Finland. I came out in Vogue India. So it's been quite a ride, but I'm more so like branding myself in the media as well as academia. So in the industry as well as academia. And it really has been proving very lucrative, because when people in academia don't take me as seriously, the media, I use the media to say, okay, I have the clout from the media, take me seriously. Because usually they don't take me seriously as a millennial. But then when in the media, when maybe perhaps they don't really, what is fashion psychology? But then I use the academia to say, oh, they take me seriously in academia because I'm a professor. So both worlds actually play off of each other.
Yes.
They've both been proven to be beneficial to help me out.
Yeah. And let's talk for a second about what that really means for you to take those steps. A lot of people have interests and passions. You know, they might like pets, they might even like fashion or clothing, but they haven't necessarily pinpointed the way to turn it into a business for themselves. What were some of the steps that you took to turn it into a specific industry / business for yourself?
I really think it's deciding, where I want to be. You have to have some type of vision. So in my mind, I was thinking, and I'm just being very transparent. I said, I want to be like a Dr. Phil, I want this to be a Dr. Phil / Oprah / Wendy Williams, something of that. I was looking to them to sort of kind of give me the vision of where I wanted to go. And it's like, okay, I'm not a talk show host, so how can I bring this to the media, as an academic? So just really having like a long-term vision of where I see myself, and then taking those little bitty steps, and it literally, it's Black History Month. So Dr. Martin Luther King says, all you have to do is take the first step, so just taking that first little step, even though I don't know how I'm going to get to Oprah Winfrey, Dr. Phil, Wendy Williams. I don't know how that's going to happen, but just taking that step and always keeping that long-term vision in my mind, it really helped me out.
Do you have specific things that you do to keep that vision close by?
Yes. So I'm being very transparent, and no one has really asked me about my methodology to doing this, but I actually have an app called Animoto, and it's on animoto.com, and I actually take pictures of the things that I would like to envision, and I literally create a video, like a slideshow, and I watch it in the morning and before I go to bed, and it really keeps me driven. And I find, I don't know if you guys believe in law of attraction, but I find that somehow the opportunities, either because I'm keeping it in my mind, my subconscious mind, and I'm drawing the opportunities, or what, but I literally watch I call them law of attraction videos that I've created, my slideshow vision boards that I create, and I watch them daily. I've gotten to a point though, because I've been doing this for several years, I don't need to watch the videos. I have it in my mind. But that's
the time, right?
Yeah.
Like they're on, yeah.
Some replay.
I hear that. And what a great example. I have to say that's a really good way to think about pulling your vision board into a modern way of seeing vision boards. You'll see behind me, I have all my Post-its. If I swiveled this around, you see I'm surrounded by these different things that kind of float out of my head at different times. And that for me is a reminder that I need to go back and revisit some of the things, because I can only pick so many to work on at once. So that's when you're someone that's like constantly exploding, that's my secret. And I'll wake up like in the middle of the night sometimes, and I'll just have all this stuff in my head. And instead of like sitting ruminating over it, I'll just go and write down, like on Post-its, I'll go and like write down everything. On each individual thing has its own Post-it. And then in the morning I get up, and sometimes I can read my chicken scratch, usually. But it inspires me to look back on these things, to reflect on them. They're taking up space in my consciousness. So I should really consider what this means relative to future opportunities.
Right.
And when I do that, like you said, it pulls me in directions. Like pretty soon I'm looking through the web, and my newsletter has this event that's related to my interest. And so what do you know? I go to that event and I meet 2 other people.
Right.
The law of attraction in action.
Yes, it definitely is. That's a great example, and that's how the opportunities work for me. They just kind of manifest out of thin air. But I'm not saying it's thin air, because I'm taking it out of my subconscious mind, and maybe it's working while I'm sleeping or while I'm doing whatever I'm doing. So it's a little bit of psychology, and it works. Visualization works.
How do you work with this stuff that's come constantly bombarding us outside of ourselves too, not just the internal things that come spinning out that I put on Post-its, but also the sort of bombardment that you get in New York City. What do you find the most effective ways to filter that as an entrepreneur?
Well, as an entrepreneur, you literally have to create your own world. It's the only thing I can liken it. It's being in love. You know, when you're in love with someone and it's just, you don't see anyone else. It's just you and that person. You literally have to like fall in love with your craft where nothing else can penetrate or filter through. I literally have to create my own world, whether it's the music that I listen to. I have a Pandora app. I know this is so like cliche and corny, but I love Disney music, Disney theme songs. And so I have a Disney radio station and I play it to enter my little world, and I write my notes down and I play my vision board, and I literally encapsulate myself and create a little fantasy world. And I tell myself, I am a fashion psychologist. I am on TV. I make this amount of money. And it's almost like pretend play, right? It's almost like when you're 7 years old and you're pretending. But I find that, you know, seeing is believing, speaking it into existence, it actually works, you know?
Yeah. And there's so many books out there that people have written to sort of help with and give you kind of giant chunks of this. And if you read these books, even like Chicken Soup for the Soul, which was one of the early books that I read, that was like in the late 80s, early 90s or something. I was sort of taking those concepts of positive thinking and how do you spin your brain around. I cannot say enough about, as you mentioned, positive psychology and the way that we see the world and how important that is to building our future of thought. Some of my students gave me tons of questions about fashion because they're very interested in fashion, very interested in building fashion brands and working with fashion brands. Being in that space and working in that arena and talking to people in that space, do you have initial advice that you might give to my students who are interested in going into that arena?
Well, you have to be humble and remember that access is better than money. So if you can intern anywhere, don't think about the money. You want the relationships. You want to really cultivate the relationship. Access is better than money, and work your hardest. You know, don't just do the minimum. Actually go beyond their expectations. And if you're willing to do the work, someone's going to see your value and they're going to say, hey, you know, I want you to be a part of my fashion brand. You know, you've done such exceptional work. I can't imagine you not interning for me, so I need to hire you. So make yourself one of a kind. And also just be yourself. So have that strong, impeccable work ethic. You know, maybe someone's more talented than you, but they can't outbeat your work ethic. So have that work ethic and be relentless, you know, and don't worry about the money. Money will come. I know that's so cliche to say, but money will come. I'm a big proponent of the universe. The universe will provide for you. So it just interning, that's a secret to getting into the fashion industry. Is interning. You need that experience. You need someone to vouch for you. You need to learn the industry because it's you can't, I mean, you can go to so I work at the Fashion Institute of Technology. So you can go to these schools, but you still have to do an internship to get that life experience to know like the ins and outs of the industry, because the industry has its own protocol and what not to do, what to do, you know, so you want to really get that hands-on experience, get your feet wet and be humble, you know, and again, access trumps money any day.
Yes. The humility side of it works great. I tend to make fun of myself a lot. So that's helpful. Hence that when I'm in a space with a bunch of other techie people, because techies like me, you know, we all tend to be a little geeky. So the moment that you seem to rise above that is the moment of being in the tech industry where I saw people kind of go, I don't really want to work with you anymore. Right? It's more about being a team, not just a team player, but recognizing the fact that I do bring something to the table, and I'm humble enough to bring that to the table and enjoy bringing it to the table.
Exactly.
The positivity that we bring into the room with us counts for so much.
It does. It radiates. Yeah.
What's your secret to maintaining that? Because anytime you and I talk, it's like we sort of go into this like positive realm with each other, and like we're doing our positive thing. I love it.
You really are.
Tell me your positive mantras. We know your vision board now.
Mm-hmm.
So what are some of your positive mantras that you keep close by?
I say, I belong, I belong, I belong. I walk into spaces sometimes and I feel I'm the youngest in the room, or I feel I'm not as competent, or I feel weird. So the mantra that I use is simply, I belong, I belong. That has gotten me to sit at the table with the Prime Minister of Ukraine, the Prime Minister of Poland, and we're talking still about fashion psychology. They flew me out for a conference, and it's like, I'm sitting next to prime ministers. I'm just a fashion psychologist. I don't think I'm even qualified for this. I don't know anything a lot about politics. I know more about fashion, but literally having that mantra on replay, I belong, I belong. It really helps me.
Yeah, yeah, and we start to see our value in other ways too. When we're sitting next to these people, you get to a point where you start to see how all the systems are working together, right? Mm-hmm. Like, okay, they have me here mainly because they see the importance of a fashion industry, and they understand the importance of this, and they understand the importance of like economics. Mm-hmm. And you get to a place where you start to understand that.
Yeah.
Talk to me about the early years.
The early years.
No, the really early years. So
the really early years, I was struggling. I was working as a nanny. I didn't have any money. I decided to be a location independent entrepreneur, which meant I didn't have like a home. I was just bouncing around. All I needed was Wi-Fi and my books and my clothes. That was it. In the early years, sometimes I didn't eat. Sometimes I didn't know where my next meal was coming from. But I just believed like, okay, the universe gave me this idea, so the universe is going to make sure I eat. Again, the universe will provide. And so I just made sure that I looked impeccable. Like I had to be.
By the way, you do look impeccable. Anytime I'm sitting next to you, I'm like, oh my God, I need to fix this.
So I make sure that I've always looked good, and it's caused me to attract any opportunity to me, whether it was a meal, whether it was a place to stay, because I surrounded myself with the things that I desired.
Yeah. I think that is so important.
Thank you.
We learn these things when we're, I've been in the tech world for a long time. So all the .com people, they dress and look like me. Like they dress and look, I sort of like, whatever that was what I've eaten as my own culture as far as how I look and feel and dress. Mm-hmm. So I can relate to the fact that I started to have those similar characteristics. And I felt like when I first started out, it was more about presenting what would make people feel most comfortable. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes when I consider what that means, it's not selling myself out of the equation, mm-hmm. but understanding that other people are important too. Like mm-hmm. their perspective, even the opportunities that they might offer me, those are things that if I show that I respect what they see as culturally valid, mm-hmm. I can get somewhere with that. And I think that's part of it.
Yeah, I would agree. I would definitely agree.
And we want it yet we want to have our own independent spirit. How do you balance that?
Just being myself. I have to be myself. I have to remember that I am enough, that, with this vision, I am unique. And just simply remembering just to be myself. I know it's so cliche, but literally just to be myself. Like, it's okay. It's really okay.
Yeah, I look at your photos on your site and stuff, because I was showing your site earlier when I first started the show.
Oh.
I put your site up there, and like you're like styled out. You got like people think that, so it's like, oh, she's styled for the photo. And you actually, I sat next to you at like a faculty conference at F.I.T. where people were coming in with like, you would think that they had just come in from their workshops, right? Like, they don't hair and all. Their faculty, they got tenure. You come in looking in the room, you're like, boy, I'm like, great.
I'm here.
Yeah, and that's what you bring to the table. So I admire you so much for that.
Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate you for saying that.
Okay, so a couple of other questions for my students. I'm trying to make this show all about my students. My last show was, I had a ton of questions for the person that we were talking with. My students are so fascinated with fashion, though. I want to make sure that we get some more of these questions in. When my students presented a bunch of questions to me, a couple of them really harkened back to the fact that they have this creative energy inside of themselves. And they're really curious about how do they harness and organize that if they don't have really the vision yet. Some ways that they can capture that.
Well, I would say in the middle of the night, especially if you're in New York City, in the middle of the night, everyone's sleeping. Everyone has to sleep. Wake up and think of your wow, whatever that spurt of inspiration, whenever it comes to you. I'm saying in the middle of the night because that's when it comes to me, and honor that. So write it down, follow that gut feeling, follow that inspiration, because although you don't have the vision, it's going to lead you to that ethereal vision that you need to have.
All right. I like the fact that you just give people, this is why you're good on TV, by the way. You give like the 22-second answer.
The sound bites.
Perfect 22-second answer. When you're thinking about this, people go into school and they learn all these things and they're sort of cramming their head with these. And a lot of the students that are here at BMCC are like their first and second year students, right? They're going to transfer on into 4-year colleges. What advice might you offer to them as being, freshmen and sophomores in college?
Just work hard and make sure you like your major. That's important. I think sometimes we go in for the money, we go in for parents' approval, go in for what makes you happy. And note that may change. You may have done 2 years at BMCC and then you're like, I don't know. I don't think what I wanted to do is what I wanted to do. So I think I should change, and give yourself permission to change. Don't wait until you do 4 years and then you're like, oh my God. No, have the courage and the permission to change. If you want to change 5 different majors, I don't care, as long as you're happy. Because when you graduate, and you get that job, you're going to say, oh, I love what I'm doing. Or you start that business, oh, I love what I'm doing. You're not going to wake up and be suicidal because you hate what you're doing. I think a lot of people go through life, whether they're looking for some type of escapism because they don't like what they're doing, and they feel like it's too late to turn around. So after you finish the 2 years and go on, make sure, do a check-in and say, hey, do I still like this? And give yourself permission to change if you don't.
Yeah. I changed my major at the 2-year mark. Actually, I was an engineering degree, which is how I understand technology, I guess. It's good. I got all that math and science into my brain.
Yeah.
Right. And then I switched gears. I went into international and cross-cultural communication because I went overseas and I decided I loved that. Like I wanted to understand the multicultural perspective of the world, and I wanted to see what that really meant. And wow, people are actually studying this. They know what this is. The cool part about college is you can find one little niche that you're excited about and you can dig into that. Either sociological or psychological perspective or science perspective or whatever you want to do, and you come at it from your own thing. We have a minute left. Words of wisdom time. So this is where you impart like the key piece of wisdom that they should take away after this this webinar that we have with you. And when people are watching this later, they're going to be like, oh my God, that was the most amazing thing ever. No pressure at all, really, though. But what would you leave people with?
I just want to be cognizant of why you wear what you wear. Simple. We're just putting this in simple terms. Why you wear what you wear, what motivates you to wear what you wear. And to thine own self be true. So be true to what you're wearing, whether you're wearing it to uplift your mood or illustrate your mood. Just be true to that.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Dawn. I appreciate
you for having me.
So one of the things you guys can take away from this is make sure you spend more time with us. You know, explore the other videos that we have on the website here. Make sure BMCC is one of those places where you can come, spend 2 years learning how to build a business, learning the finance side, and then get out there and actually start your company. If that's something, if you're in that place where you found your passion and you're interested and you want to go in that direction, you can totally do that. The other cool part about being at BMCC is you can transfer into so many other colleges. It's New York City, and you have access to them. You can go to Columbia, you can go to NYU, you can go to Baruch, you can go to Hunter, and the world literally is your oyster in New York City. So take full advantage of it, everyone. I love you guys. Seriously, get out there, be entrepreneurial, whether you're starting a company or going to work for someone else. You bring the entrepreneurial thought, they'll keep you around and they will love you. All right. Thanks again, Karen. Thanks.
Bye.